Good morning, viewers. You are welcome to your online TV, Clevenard TV. I am your host, Raphael. On our interview segment this morning, I have with me Dr. James Raphael. Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir.
Great.
Sir, could you please tell us a little about yourself, sir?
Do I really know anything about myself? I know the viewers will be wondering. My name is Raphael. I'm Raphael James. I'm from Abia State. I schooled in then Ondo State, now Ekiti. That's Ondo State University, where I graduated with my first degree in psychology. I did the diploma certificate in journalism and another diploma certificate in conflict resolution. I worked with Newswatch Communications. I started my career in journalism with Newswatch Communications. I worked with Newswatch. From Newswatch, I left for the presidency in Abuja. I served under General Sani Abacha's government, with Chief Alex Akinyele, then the chairman of the National Reconciliation Commission. From there, I came back to Lagos and I worked with the Nigerian Philippines Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I worked with a slug group of companies, served as media assistant to Governor Jizokalo of Abia State before I decided to stay on my own, and I set up the Center for Research, Information Management and Media Development, which I'm running for now. Raphael is an author. I've written 56 books and published 23. I run a library. I run a free museum. I run a museum of Nigerian photograph. I run a free skill center where I train women. And yeah, I know, and I can't remember everything about myself again. I'm happily married. I have three wonderful children, and I'm very proud of them.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
You said you run a library.
Yes.
Yeah, could you please tell us, from all you have said, I see you as a selfless person, somebody who's passionate about education. Can you tell us what is the brain behind setting up a library?
Well, I am one person who believes strongly that part of the problem we have is because we don't read, and you know, like they always say, readers are leaders. And because we don't read, we can't lead, and that is why Nigeria keep moving backwards instead of moving forward. And I didn't want to be in that bandwagon of people who are complaining that nothing is happening without doing anything. So I came up with a concept. I said, okay, what can I do to help? What can I do as my little contribution to move the nation ahead? And I thought about putting up the library. My library has been on now for 15 years. I've been running it free for the last 15 years, and it has produced medical doctors, engineers, lawyers, marketers, just name it. People who either they use the library to prepare for their GCE exam, their WAEC exam, or their JAMB exam, and today they are qualified from the university. The major reason of setting up the library is to encourage the habit of reading. And I've gone a step ahead. You know, after I set up the library, my next target was to see if I could actually establish a library each in every local government in Nigeria. And we have about 774 officially recognized local governments. So my idea was to set up 774 libraries, which unfortunately I don't have that kind of cash to do it. So I opted out for a second option, which is what I now do is I contribute books. Once anybody can prove to me that he or she is desirous of setting up a library or have set up a library somewhere, I contribute books to encourage the library to grow. And on that basis, I've donated 29,700 plus books. And actually, my target is to make sure that by the end of December 31st, 2018, I would have donated 30,000 books out.
Okay. Library. I know setting up a library is not a small thing, and running it, you know, you need books, not just books, materials.
Yeah.
So what are the challenges you've been facing ever since you set it up?
Well, I should say two major challenges, or maybe three major challenges. One is the fact that Nigerians, you hardly find us coming out to read for the pleasure of reading.
Yeah.
So even when the library is there and it's free, you hardly see people come there to come and read. That is what I would describe as challenge number one. Challenge number two is the fact that the space I have is small. My library can take a maximum of 26 people at a given time. And so far, I have in the last 15 years, I have over 12,000 registered members for the library. So each time I just imagine what happened if half of that population could decide to come to use the library in a day, I won't have a space for them. Now the third one will be funding. Funding does not really disturb me, not because I have all the money, but because it's a passion, something I'm doing for the joy of doing it. I don't really feel the funding part that seriously, but then the funding is there. Sometimes I see books I want to buy and I cannot afford to buy it. I have to wait until when I have extra cash before I can buy, because so far since I've been running it, I've not gotten any grant from any organization, not from any individual to run it. And my library, I have over 40,000 books stock inside it, in the last 15 years that I've been buying, plus the one I said I've been giving out. Okay, funding. Funding in the sense that I really need a whole lot of cash to buy books, and sometimes when the cash is not there, and I see a particular book I'm interested in buying and I cannot buy it, I always feel bad. What I do most time is maybe I make a deposit of the little cash I have with the bookseller and say, okay, give me the next 1 week or 1 month, I'm going to come back and pay for the books and get those books. So those are the 3 challenges I've actually faced so far running the library.
Okay. And you mentioned the body in the course of your explanation. CRIMD, Center for Research.
CRIMD, Center for Research, Information Management and Media Development. That's my center. That's the center I'm operating.
Okay, what was the brain behind that? What brought about?
The whole idea is to encourage research. Okay. Some people will call it investigative journalism, which is what we don't have in this part of the world. But I call it more of research. Research because I don't not just about being a journalist. I also look at historical facts, and my aim is to document history. My aim is to preserve information, which is what we're not doing. And that is why if you could make time, maybe at the end of the interview, I would love to take you to my museum so you can see. I presently run the largest photo museum on Nigerian history in Nigeria. I have over 37,000 photographs on Nigerian history. I don't think there's any other place in Nigeria you can walk in and see that number of photographs assembled in a particular place. So that's the whole aim of the center. The center is just to document history and preserve them.
So you feel investigative journalism is not well practiced here in Nigeria?
Oh, definitely it's not. I mean, you know that it's not. The closest we had was, maybe the days of Delegewa, and unfortunately he died in whatever manner that he did. And since then, a whole lot of people who wanted to go into it are now a little bit worried and scared to do it.
Okay. In your career, what would you say is your highest point?
For now, I don't think I've actually met my highest point. I don't think so. I've had the opportunity of interviewing 7 world presidents, but even with that, I don't think I've achieved anything yet as far as journalism is concerned. I mean, my mates are winning international awards on journalism, and I'm yet to do that. So I should say that I've not done anything so far. So I'm not being ungrateful to my creator, no. Okay. But what I'm saying is I'm actually challenging myself that I really need to do more. Yes.
So with what you have achieved so far, you still feel you are not yet fulfilled?
No, I'm not at all.
So there are still a lot of
a whole lot of things yet to be done, and I'm believing God and also praying and believing in myself that I should be able to achieve something more.
Okay. And looking at your sojourn so far, I will also call you a tourist.
Yeah, to some extent, yes.
So would you say the potentials in Nigeria has been well harnessed, talking about tourism?
Tourism. Okay, like I said, when you mentioned you could call me a tourist, I said somehow. I see myself more as an explorer and an adventurer than being a tourist. But then both exploration and adventures also fall under tourism. I've had the privilege of visiting over 425 tourist sites in Nigeria, and I didn't just walk into them and walk out. I walk into them, I spend time doing the research study on those particular places, and in most occasions I had to take the pain to talk to the traditional rulers of the communities where these sites are found, because I feel that if we don't document what we have, there's no way we're going to attract people to come in. I think about late in September, I won an award from South Africa on historic tourism, and I've also been voted among the first 100 top tourists in Nigeria. The formal presentation is coming up this November in Abuja, November 16 in Abuja. Then I've won about 3 other ambassadorial awards, tourism ambassador awards so far. I think those things are coming because people are beginning to appreciate the little things I'm doing. I am not, like I said, just a tourist who goes to a place and walk away. No, I go in, I dig out information. And I think Nigeria as a country still have a whole lot of things to do as far as promoting tourism is concerned. I'm going to give you an example. I visited the Hanging Lake in Isseyin, and when I did, I blogged the story where I stated that in the whole world there are 2 hanging lakes. There's one in Colorado in America, then there's another one in Nigeria. The one in America receives about 1 million visitors every year. Now, if you look at it, that let's say every visitor visiting that hanging lake pays just $1, that would be about $100 million that they are making. But the one in Nigeria, it doesn't even receive up to 100 visitors in a year. And even the few people who went, when I went there, I didn't pay because there was nobody there to collect the fee. So how do we make money from tourism when we are actually wasting the opportunities we have to make money from tourism?
So those tourist centers are just lying.
Most of them are just lying fallow, and nobody's making effective use of it. And even where they're making money from it, the money goes into private pockets, not into government pocket. I have an experience I used to share. During one of my visits to Kenya, I visited the Watai Mangare forest, which is like any other forest we have in Nigeria. Now, at the entry point, you have to pay to enter into the forest. I tried to convince the team at the security point that I'm a journalist from Nigeria, and I tried to give them a reason why I shouldn't pay because I'm going to promote their story. And the lady that told me said, "Sir, even if you're a journalist from America, you have to pay. This is a standard rule. If you don't pay, you won't go in." I spent about 30 minutes, not because I didn't want to pay, but because I ran out of cash that particular day. Eventually, what she did for me was that she called her boss, and the boss came to meet me on a bike, and he said, "Well, where is your international passport?" I showed him. He said, "Where is your ID card?" I showed him. He said, "What I can do for you to go in is I'm going to give you money from my pocket." So he paid for me to go in. He didn't use his influence to allow me to go in. But in Nigeria, we use our influence. And in that situation, where's the money going to go to? So those are the kind of things that Nigerian government and maybe those of us in the tourism sector too should start developing. Let us look for how we can make money that will go into the purse of the government to improve the tourist sites that we have.
Okay. Still on journalism, as a journalist, has there been maybe hostile ground or area where you have gone to get reports that before or after the assignment that you felt intimidated and all of that?
Well, intimidated, no. Harassed, yes. I was in River State to do a story on the oil spillage, and some hoodlums, so to say in quote now, came out from nowhere in the bush, and they took my camera away from me, and they insisted I should pay them 50,000 naira or forfeit the camera. Well, to be fair to them, I tried as much as I could to parley with them, and at the end of the day, I parted with 5,000 naira, and they gave my camera. But they made sure that I deleted everything I've recorded in my camera. And that is one. Then, well, here and there too, there are some people too who maybe they could. Some people have actually tried to be hostile. I've also seen a situation where I've gone to do interviews, and people are asking me to pay them money before I can do my interview. For example, when I was working on the Aba Women's Riot, 1929 Aba Women's Riot, I must state this, that my report on the Aba Women's Riot, which came up just 2 months ago, have remained the most authentic report on Aba Women's Riot since 1929 when it happened. Now, when I was doing that study, I visited 6 different states in 6 days. I didn't really sleep. I was on the road for 6 days. And I interviewed about I think 21 different people, and most of them felt that government was sponsoring my trip, and that government had given me a whole lot of money to spend, and I wasn't really giving them money. I remember the situation where after I was doing an interview, the interview was on when the young man came in and saw me interviewing his father, who was in his mid-80s or late 80s now, and he insisted that I should pay the father 30,000 naira. I tried to explain to him, I said, "See, I'm only doing this to document history." He said I should forget it. That he knows people like us that we have made so much money, we want to come and make story out of it. And I told him, I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't have 30,000 to pay you." He started struggling my camera with me. I said, "There's no need for it. The worst you want to do is you want to delete it." He said, "Yes." So I showed him how to delete it, and he deleted everything. So things like that are bound to happen.
Okay. Your journey so far, you said you interviewed some former African leaders or presidents.
Yeah.
Before those interviews and after, what was going through your mind?
Once I set up to have my interview, I am very, very determined. I always make up my mind that whatever it's going to take it. I have to get my interview. And I've had some very remarkable interviews, not just with the presidents of Africans, and even some individuals. There are some private individuals that I've actually interviewed, and I felt fulfilled that I had the opportunity of interviewing them. The late Oba of Benin, I was the last journalist that interviewed him before he died. You know, to me it was a big privilege because I've written to the palace for three occasions, and the first two occasions they turned it down. So eventually, when they invited me the third one and I got there, I was told that it was against the protocol of the palace for a journalist to come asking for an interview from the Oba. Somehow, I should say maybe God was on my side, and Oba took interest in me, and he granted me that interview. So I would describe that as one of the most unique interviews I've had. I've also interviewed a couple of ministers, some of them who actually proved stubborn at the beginning. But when the interview started, I discovered that they felt at home with me. And you know the reason is this. I don't write negative things in my story. I am one person who believes that all of us as humans, we all have skeletons in our cupboard. And I keep saying it that if I don't want you to expose the skeleton in my cupboard, I'm not going to take the pain to expose the skeleton in your cupboard. I prefer to look at the positive side of you than to look at the negative side of you. As a young man growing up, I remember my grandmother used to tell me that if you hail somebody who does something good, the person is encouraged to do more good. Yes. So, and that is why I preach that in my journalism career too. Let us look at the good things people are doing and encourage them to do it so they can do more than us bringing people down. What we do, what most of us in the media do, is the PhD syndrome, pull him down syndrome, and it's actually not good. If any, sincerely speaking, watch out for any journalist that is going to come out and attack an individual. If you dare write something negative about that person, the person could sacrifice his life to defend himself. So if you're going to do that to defend yourself, why do it for somebody else? Why don't you look at the positive side of people? So that is my own style of writing.
Okay. So, looking at your office, I can see a lot of pictures, awards, and all of that. What is it with the award? What do you derive? I don't know how to put the question. Awards here and there. How do you feel getting so much award and yet you said you are still not fulfilled?
Not fulfilled.
Yeah.
The awards are actually recognitions, and recognitions don't just come. That is what I believe. Recognitions come probably because you're doing something good.
Yes.
But I have always maintained that I always describe it as the little nothing that I do. So I've been getting, I think I've received 110
so far.
Officially, yes. So far as of today, November 1st, 2018, 110 awards. And these are people telling me, don't give up in what you're doing. The awards, they are part of recognitions, and as they come, I feel is a way of encouraging me to continue doing the little nothing that I'm doing. My awards, the 110 awards so far received, as of today, November 1st, 2018, is not just on journalism. There have been awards covering different spheres of life, which I've got myself involved in. There have been awards on tourism, there have been awards on journalism, there have been awards on the skill acquisition center that I run. I told you I run a skill center, which started on in February 2016, and so far I've trained about 4,000 women, free. There's no registration money, you don't pay money for form. I've trained about 4,000 women free on different skills, just to encourage them to have something they can do. Because you see, the country is moving to a point in time now where if you don't have a skill, if you don't have a handwork, you're going to die of hunger. The days of getting a certificate is come and gone. Certificate is only necessary now so that one can learn how he or she can express his or herself outside. But you need something you can do with your hand to survive. And that was what prompted me to set up the skills center, which we're running. So those are the different angles in which the certificates have been coming. Then in terms of the photographs you're talking of, I love meeting people. Even as a young man, I remember part of my hobby was meeting people. And that have also given me an advantage. I've met quite a whole lot of important personalities, not just within Nigeria, even outside Nigeria. And for everybody that I meet, I wouldn't just yeah, I know some people will just do the photo bomb thing. You know, you walk into somebody. I go beyond that. If I'm going to meet you and I'm not going to talk to you, then I won't take photograph with you. I want to find out who you are. Find out what is that made you to be tick, different from the other. Because the more I talk to you, the more I learn from you, and that is what have also kept me going on the things I'm doing.
Okay. Looking at the places you've been to, a lot of people you have met. One may say you may likely become a politician someday. Do you see that happening?
No, never.
And why, sir?
Never, ever. Nigerian politics is bitter politics. Like I told you when I started, I've had the opportunity of working in the presidency in Abuja. And sincerely, if I wanted to go into politics, that would have been an opportunity for me to remain in politics. I've also served with my state governor. When Dr. Joseph Kalu was the governor of Abia State, I was his media assistant. It was a political appointment. Yes, if I get a political appointment, I probably will take it depending on who is giving me the appointment. But I'm going to come out tomorrow to print my posters to contest for an election to run in Nigeria. I am not going to do it. So the things I'm doing today, I'm not doing it because I want anybody's vote. I'm doing it because these are the things that makes me happy. I love helping people. And for every time I put a smile on somebody's face, I feel happy inside of me. And that have actually encouraged me to grow.
Looking at your activities so far, should one say is as a result of your upbringing, or how come you are such a selfless person?
I would agree with you. Yes, it's part of my upbringing. I grew up with my grandmother in the village, and I remember those days when I was even in primary school. I had this policy I maintained then. Once I finish my domestic work at home, that is in my own house, I moved to the house of the next elderly person in the village to help them do whatever I can help them do. Probably sometimes I help them go and fetch water, I help them go and fetch firewood from the bush and all that. And for every time I help an elderly person, I made a point of it that I don't collect money from you. You know, some of them will give you a tip. I reject it, and I'll tell them, if I come to help you next time you give me money, I won't come to your house again. So I wasn't doing it because I want to be paid. I was doing it because I was happy doing it. And most times you see these elderly people would, after helping them, they will lay hand on me and they will pray for me and they will bless me and they will tell me you will prosper. And I think it is those prayers that I got far back in the 70s that are working for me today. It has been a part of me, and sincerely I enjoy it. I can't imagine that I have the resources to help the next person next door, even if the person is not talking to me, and I watch the person be dying for hunger. I keep praying that God should not allow me to live that kind of life, and I will never be happy doing that.
Okay. Looking at your project so far, you have a lot of things at hand. You say you have a skill acquisition that you run. You have a library. I'd say in the next 3, 4, 5 years, maybe when, or probably 10 years, let's say 10 years from now,
Yeah.
when you would have maybe left, I don't know, journalism, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
what would you be doing after then, or are there other things in the pipeline that you tend to venture into?
Okay, interestingly, the things I do today are more of passion, and there are things I can do even when I'm 100 years old. My journalism, my publication, the National Biographer magazine, which I do, I hardly stress myself doing it because I do individual focusing. I pick on just one particular character for a month and I work on that person. The whole idea was that I love writing biographies. I told you I published 23 books, and half of the 23 books I've published are biographies. So I do biographies mostly. Then I discovered along the line that there are people who could not afford to pay me when I'm doing the biography. And in order to work out something easier for them, I came up with a magazine version of the biography books. So we call it the National Biography Magazine. So instead of me doing a whole book for you, which is going to be expensive, I just pick you and do something on you on the magazine, which is relatively cheaper for me to handle. Now, having said that, my dream have always been, even as a young man, that someday I'll own a zoo. A zoo is something I would like to fall back to when I'm old. I like to walk out of my house, walk into the premises, play with the animals, interact with them, and breathe fresh air from the garden. And it's something that I'm believing, just like you said, maybe in the next 5-10 years, if the Lord blesses me very well, I will start a particular project and make it a zoological garden, one that will be the very best in Africa and probably compete with any other zoological garden in the world. Because I've had the opportunity of visiting about 52 zoos across Africa, and I've seen what they are doing. I've seen how they operate, and I think I can improve on what they are doing. And that is why I am also using this opportunity to solicit, in case there's anybody out there watching this video who is interested in partnering with me. I've acquired the land. All I need is resources to put it in place, and once you're ready, we can sit down and talk.
I'm sure people will surely contact you.
I pray so too.
And finally, your message to viewers watching at home.
Well, for those of us in Africa and for those of us beyond Africa, we can make the world a better place for us to live if we all agree to live in peace. One love.
Thank you very much, sir, for granting us the audience, and I hope each time we call on you, you'll always be there to answer us, sir.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Viewers at home, this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of the interview. My name still remains Raphael. For your adverts, your editing, your videos, your party, call us for covering of your events, weddings, parties. Clevenard TV will be there for you. Thank you.
Gramophone, 1922 gramophone, which is actually still working. So my pinhead is faulty, it's not that it's dirty. So if you put it on now, it will not play very well. Then it doesn't use battery and it does not use electricity. The DJ has to be around it to wind it. When the DJ winds it, he puts the pin on it. You know, and the music will start. So it's not going to play now because the pin is bad. The pin is I need to, and unfortunately I don't know where to get another pin to buy for it, but it's working perfectly well. This is the olden days telephone, the one that we used to call on the guard, you know, in those days. And this is the colonial helmet, used by the colonial masters. This is a fax machine. So it's still working anyway, this one is still operational. You can get a line for it. You know what this one is? The paper. But the younger ones now don't know this because I used to take the paper. Now take a look at this. Can you believe that this was used to buy a human being? To buy a human being during the slave trade era? Yeah, this job was used in exchange for a human being. Those days. And over here, let me unveil this.
What is this?
This 1886 vintage camera. 1886 vintage camera. Still working actually. 1886. It's over 100 years old. And it's still working very well. This is when technology started. Then they used to use this cloth. If you want to snap, you cover yourself with the cloth. Before it's not like now that you're exposing and you're moving around. So the things are changing. Okay, for example, take the camera you're using now and let's look at this. This is also a camera. In fact, I actually used this. This was my camera in secondary school. Because I was into photography as a hobby. But and this is the one that was used, the type that uses film.
Yes,
and this is the sample of the film, the Kodak film. Put the film, you roll it into it, and after you have to get it out. Exactly. So all those ones are gone now with the memory card thing and everything like most memories here. Then over here, we have stamps. These are old Nigerian stamps that we use over the years. They're still useful for those who are into stamp collecting. I'm a stamp collector. I started collecting stamps in 1974. I was in primary school then, and I still collect up till now.
But not as a...
It's there, but those collectors are still collecting. The beautiful thing about it is that stamp, no matter how long it stays, is very weight. Because the longer your stamp stays, the more valuable your stamp will become. A stamp that you bought for maybe 20 kobo, 30 kobo then, now could value, to have so much value, maybe value as much as 20,000 naira, or as much as 30,000 naira. The longer, the older it grows. And they call it the king of all hobbies across the world. The king of all hobbies, stamp collecting. This is the only hobby that you see in the language is taking part in. Almost all American presidents are stamp collectors. So it's some people will tell you it's meant for distinguished people, but it's actually open to everybody. It's not that people look at the pain they're going to take to spend their money to go and buy the stamp and keep, so they refuse to see the value that is involved in it.
Classifies